On today's episode of Here's an Example of Another Thing That You Might Not Have Realized Could Be a Really Common Trait for Dyslexic Individuals, let's talk about time. Or more specifically, let's talk about reading clocks, in particular, learning to read those analog clocks, the circle clocks with the numbers around the edges and the hands. Struggling with learning to do that is actually really common for dyslexic kids. And it doesn't actually always end in childhood. Sometimes that carries on into adulthood where it's like we can look at the clock and I can tell you generally what time it is, but if you want me to tell you exactly what time it is, that's a little bit more effortful. That is a really common struggle for dyslexic individuals. And it's another great example of why when we look at dyslexia as this very limited thing, this thing that just impacts maybe reading or maybe spelling or sentence structure, there are so many other parts of the experience of dyslexia that don't make sense because we have such a limited view. And that's why the more we understand about it, the more effectively we can interact with and support dyslexic individuals, because these struggles that they're experiencing that they seemingly have no other explanation for, like why is it so difficult for me to learn how to read a clock, there is actually an explanation, and it has to do with being dyslexic. And understanding that can actually be really empowering.